Hi, this is Cheryl of Majestic Wire Artworks. In this video, I am going to show you how to make these crystal woven earrings. Now, you might recognize the pattern from the photograph I have for tier level 3 in the Patreon. And I've been meaning to do this from the get-go, but it is a difficult design. The original pattern had smaller beads here, which makes it harder to make. So I've modified it a bit to make it easier. You can experiment yourself with different bead sizes, but I've used 6mm and 4mm rondelles here. And it's easier to work with because they move around easier. And the smaller beads, it's harder to bend the wire here because I think the holes are smaller on the 3mm, so it really grabs on the wire and it sometimes makes it kink. So I wanted to make this as simple as I possibly can because it is a bit of a difficult design to make. So saying this, I also need to say one more thing. Right now I'm on holidays and we're camping, and it's near a gun range, and so there's going to be gunshots in the background from time to time, in case you were wondering what the banging noise is. And I have no control over that, so we'll just bear with it the best that we can. Okay, so I'm going to start with showing you how to make the weave that we're using here. It's the 3/4 weave, and I'm not doing it with the earrings. I'm doing with smaller pieces of wire so that I'm not fighting with my backdrop. And let's start by what I call lassoing. So I've just got the tail up there, one wrap around the one wire. And I have your supplies written below in the supply list. So you would be taking 2 of your 20 gauge wires, using it as your core wires, or base wires, as some people say. And now I'm holding these wires together very closely, and I'm going to wrap around the bottom one. Whoops. Like that. Okay, so it's like, looks like that. And now both are wrapped in there together. And so this is just going in with the 3/4 weave. So I've got it coming up between the 2 wires, and I'm going underneath between both wires, pulling it tight, making that bend in the wire, letting go so there's not too much tension, and bringing it down between the 2 wires. Okay, and then I'm coming up again from the top and going over top of both wires, and then coming up between the 2 wires, and that is one pattern. But when you do the 2 patterns together, you're going to have 2 short lines and one long line. If you've watched lots of my videos, I use this weave a lot. You might know how to do this weave very well by now. See, so it shows 2 short and 1 long, like that. Now, where you're going to be wanting to start, because it slides really easy at this point, is at, from the left, you want 3.5 inches on your 22 gauge. And I would like you to do from that point of this weave a 1/2 inch of weaving on both of your earrings, not just one. We need you to do both, and you're wanting to be at 3.5 inches starting. So if you've done a longer length, remember to compress every so often, and you can take your chain nose pliers to compress like this, and just hold it with your nail and push it together like that. And so we want 1/2 inch on both of them, and 3.5 inch lengths on the left hand side of them. Okay, so I am pausing this. I'm going to do mine, and we'll both be at the same point in our earrings at that time. So I'll see you in a second. Okay, I'm back. I've got half an inch of weaving on each of my earrings, and they look the same on both sides. And hopefully they are just as neat on both sides, because that's going to be important. Only because we're going to make the earrings exactly the same, and then we're going to flip one upside down. So one of them's going to need to be really nice on the bottom side anyway, so you can pick between the two. So I've got it pretty much exactly 3.5 inches on this end of things. If you're worried about not being the right length there, you can, like, I've got the measurement of 7 inches for the wire. You could always make it 7.5, and then just give yourself a little bit extra working room, or leeway. But even you need the length to make the loop on top of the earring. That's what makes this part of the earring. So, and we need the length to make these curls as well. So that's important. And I've got, for people that are using sterling silver, I've got the measurements pretty much exactly where you want to be. For the 28 gauge, I have written down 3 feet. For myself right now, it might be a smidge less. I will let you know in the write-up, at the bottom in the description, if you can get away with using less. We'll see how much I've left over at the end of the video. Well, I'll probably tell you in the video as well. Okay, so the next step, and I'm going to use my sample piece to do it as well, is we're just going to coil for 5/8 of an inch on one of the wires. So it's just simply wrapping it around. And you don't want it too much of a space between, but you don't want it coiling over top of each other either. So you're just going to do like that. And then about every 5-6 wraps, then you compress it, just like the weaving, how you compress about 5 or 6 patterns. Okay, and then see, if you're going to wrap big spaces like that, you're going to have uneven coiling. So you want to try and get it as close as possible, but you can have a little bit of leeway too. I mean, like, this is fine. Okay, so we want 5/8 of an inch on each of them. You could, it's going to be on the upper side. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. Both of them on the upper one. Yeah, it has to be on the upper one. What am I saying? So we can't, there's no choice. So you're got this, you got your weaving, you got, yeah, just do the upper one on the right hand side, and your 5/8 inch of coiling. Okay, and I will have mine done and be back shortly. Hi, I'm back. I've got my coiling done on both of my earrings, and I had woven too far on this one, so I had kinky wire because I had to go back and unwire, and that's what it does. It messes it up. So lesson learned, try not to weave too much. But I mean, it's still going to look good because it looks better on the other side. I'm going to use that as my good side. I'm going to plan that out when I do my the earrings part. So the next step I want you to do is we are going to curve this coil so that it is kind of like this shape. And what you can do is you can take like a permanent marker. Some permanent markers might be too big, but I'm sure you can get it started like this. A big fat pan would work too, and just like that. And we want this to be straight at this point, otherwise it gets in your way. And actually it's going to want to be curved more than that when we're done, because we want this straight here and this straight here. Then we're going to do the swirl up here, and we're going to bend over top of each other, so it will need to be curved more than that. Hopefully I'm not too close to the camera. Okay, and then the next step is to put beads on. So you're going to take a 4 by, it's a 4, I call it 4 millimeter. When I worked in a store, that's how we described them, is the largest number of the pairing. Oops, wrong wire, sorry. 4 millimeter, then a 6 millimeter, and a 4 millimeter. And then gently bend this wire like this, so it's not too close to the coiling, because we want the beads to have some movement, but not too far either. So like about that. You can do some adjustments later if it needs it. Okay, and so then before you do the next one, I want you to do about one, see how I got these wires nice and close together? One pattern of the 3/4 weave, one or two patterns to hold it together. And then, because you can always undo it if you have to, but you should be okay. Okay, so I'm going to wrap once around here just to show you. Hold it together, push it down, and over top of the two. Do the bend. Okay, that's enough to hold it together. Okay, so we kind of want them spread apart so that this doesn't get in your way. And then do the exact same thing for the other one. And then when you've compared them and you're happy with how they look, because you can slide this one up and down a little bit, then you can continue your weaving. And what I would like you to weave on this side is 1 1/4 inches. You can do longer if you want, because we're just going to wrap it and then it's going to be snipped off with the weave. So having extra weave won't matter, but you'll need your 1 1/4 inches for sure. Okay, so I'll be back and I'll have both of mine woven up 1 1/4 inches up this way, and probably gonna have a little bit of wire left, and that's okay because we don't need it. Okay, so I'll be back shortly. Okay, I'm back and I have that weaving done. This is how much I had left from the 3 feet, so I definitely would recommend for copper that you do 3 feet, 3 inches, 3.5 feet. I'm going to write down 3.5 feet in the instructions. If you're doing sterling silver, 3 feet's probably long enough because it doesn't compress as well, so you end up using less silver than for the weaving wire. But you know, I would definitely give myself a little bit more leeway with silver anyways. Do 3 feet, 3 inches with silver. Okay, so the next step is we're comparing the bends. Okay, so see this one I've got fairly level, so you can see where your beads are sitting at. We should have a fair comparison. We need to do that with this too. It's a little bit wonky, so I'm just gonna bend it up like that. We want to get that level from that point to that point. Okay, so see how those beads are closer to the coil? That actually looks nicer if you prefer the look where they're looser, like that. You would need to pull on the beads and pull the wire out, and it slides quite easily. But I've kind of made the coil a little bit bent again doing that. This one, I'm going to shorten this one, and I'm just going to pull on the bead wire. Now I've got the short end of weaving here because it's then you can pull through less. And it's snugged right up actually. So that's very simple and easy to do. Okay, maybe I should snug this one. No, that one's snugged up about the same amount. I'm just gonna bend that. I'm gonna use the marker again. Round it out. Okay. The next thing I want you to do is sometimes when we're weaving, it gets a little bit bent up. So the easy fix is to gently go like this. So it's the bottom part we want almost perfectly straight. The top part we're going to curve a little bit. I'm just gently doing that. Using your nylon pliers. I know my nylon pliers get all bent out of shape when I use it for different, different applications. So I would recommend not using them because it won't give you a true edge like this does. Okay, compressing it a little bit more. And I'm going to do the same for the other side, and then do that for both of your earrings. Okay, I've got that step done. The next step is to snip off your weave wire as close as you can and crimp them in. So right snug up and just tap, 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 tap. And it probably needs there. Okay, and same for the other one, all four ends. And I will pause for doing that as well. Okay, I've got all that done. And the next thing we're going to do is you're going to pick the best fronts of the two, and you're going to have them opposite. And you're going to take one and set it down exactly the way you had it so you don't get it mixed up. I'm going to move this back. Okay. And then the inner wire of the longer wires here and the shorter weave, we're going to make a tiny little loop here. We're going to do the little loop first. Okay, we're going to do both, first one earring and then the other earring. So you're going to grab it and you're going to pull it down. And see, I pushed it down because it's just coming up. And then we want it to kind of come in line with the weave. I'm pushing the curve down again. Okay, like that. That's about the size I want, so I'm happy with that. And it's lined up. Now we want to try and make almost identical size of loop with the other one, the other earring. Okay, so I'm going to have that handy to compare, as you can compare with yours. pull it down like that. Got a cat here. Now, before I compress it, I want to compare the sizes. I'd say it's pretty close to bang on. This one might be a smidge bigger. As I pull this up, it's gonna fix that, and I'm gonna push that down. There. Okay, so that's what we want. And now the other one, we want to go like this, and we're going to give it some distance. And I like it when it's got a little bit more distance in there. That's the front. A little bit more distance in there. I think that almost naturally happens, but I'm not positive. So it's going to come behind this wire. And I'm putting pressure here to help bend, curve it smoothly. And you know, sometimes this takes practice doing that technique, but you'll eventually get it if you don't have it already. Okay, and now, you know, we're going to have a bead sit right there on this wire, and that's going to help judge the distance. So we could put a bead on this wire to help at this point. So like that. And then they're going to go in a bit. See, because it goes in just a bit. Together. Okay, and it changed a little bit here. I'm just going to push that down with my nail. There. Like that. Okay, and we'll leave it like that at that point. And we'll do the same thing with the other earring. Okay, I see that it's pushing down a little bit more. Okay, so this is going under. And we want it similar size again, so I'm going to compare. So it's out just a little bit here. I'm just going to put some pressure here. Okay. And now I'm going to put a bead up here as a spacer for measurement. Level that out a bit. Okay. And pull these inwards. Actually want it to go behind this weave. Although it's so short, it's not going to be hard to adjust that later. Okay. So like that. And now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to push this weave over a little bit, so that at that point the top of the bead is kind of like the center, in line with the center. And this is going to cross over top, so it's going to need a little bit of a bend. Now, on camera, it's hard to judge. I'm going to peek over. I need it to be a little bit wider at the bottom to get the right look, I think. So I need this angled a little more. And I see that it's a little bit wavy. I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and flatten a bit. There, I think that looks good. And you will need to, you know, adjust, be patient with yourself and adjust as needed. Okay, and now we're going to fold it over like I did here, so it's behind itself, and then we're going to snip it right there, and we're going to make it bend down there to hug it. And before we do that, though, I think I want to get this one so it matches, because it's better to make modifications before you have everything closed off. Okay, so this has to be in front. I'm going to straighten that. It's a little bit wonky. Okay, and we want to get that centered again. Those beads move a lot, so it's kind of hard. So I've moved it over, but I'm widening it at the bottom. Okay. Like that, and then I want to compare it to the other earring. Make sure the same size and shape. Moved on me. Oops, sorry. I'd say that's pretty close. That's about as close as we're going to get. Bend it down. Compare again. It's easier to compare when it's laying down now. I see this is a little close. I'm going to pull this wire and snug up that circle a little bit. See if I can do that. There, that's better. Okay, so the next thing to do is the top wire. Well, actually, no, we're going to snip it and bend that in. We're going to snip the weave. And take your chain nose pliers and bend it in. Okay, and now this wire, we're going to do the same thing. We're bending it around the weave, and we're going to make it touch itself right there. So we're going to snip it not too short. So these chain nose pliers that have the tiny tips are fantastic. Okay. It doesn't. No, it looks fine. Okay, so now this wire we want straight up. So like that. Okay, and so we'll do the same thing with the other one. We'll snip it, bend it in. I try not to touch the weave on top because we don't want it deformed. Okay, so now we're taking the top wire and bending it and snipping it and crimping it in. And I'm going to try and turn this video into, keep it a one-parter, but we're getting close to the line. So, I just need to take a pause for a second because I need to talk to my husband for a second. Hang on. Okay, I'm back, and the next step is to make loops. And the direction of your loop will affect the direction of your spiral. If you don't mind them having the spiral in the same direction, then you can just do the same type of loop. But if you want to make them opposites and have the spiral going the opposite way, we'll have to do one reverse. So I'm going to make the reverse loop first. You know the typical way. I'm not going to take the time. I'm going to keep this video short as possible. So I'm just going to do the reverse loop first. Now, to make my loops consistent with the neckline, which affects the height of your earring, I've marked my pliers, sorry. So I'm touching this against the top of the weave, and I'm using that to measure my loop. And for the reverse loop, you want the back of the earring forwards. So that's the back of the earring. Okay, and like this, and then you have the wire come this side, not this side, and that will make a reverse loop. Okay, and then you do this the same with the other one, and then you can compare if the neck is equal. If you're not worried about that, go ahead and do this. Okay, I'm going to pause. Okay, so I've made both loops, and this is the reverse one. This is the regular one. Now the next step is to measure this length of wire, and I'm going to do it from the edge of this coil 3/4 of an inch, and I'm going to do the same thing from the edge of this coil 3/4 of an inch. So they're both 3/4 of an inch, and now I'm going to coil them upwards. So this one will go this direction, and this one will go this direction. Okay, I'll get that, show you how to start it. So you take the very tip of the wire, and you have a very fine chain nose pliers to do this. And I want it a little bit more than that. Then crimp it down. Whoops. Crimp it down and back. There, it's in focus. And then roll it in until it's all the way rolled in. Sometimes you got to crimp it a little bit more. Really important to have a nice pair of chain nose pliers to make these. And I will have it in the description. I bought these through BB Craft, and you can buy the exact same pliers I have if you are in need of purchasing some. Okay, and that one's done. And I'm going to do the same for the other one, but reverse, so you don't need to watch it twice. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm finishing off the second one. I just wanted to show you sometimes it's easier if you pull the wire straight forward to finish off that spiral. And then get it into position and clamp it down a little bit. And it moved on me. And it will on you from time to time too. Okay, and then we just have to adjust everything. So it's nice and straight. I want that down a little bit. It's kind of blocking the... There we go. Okay, now center it. It's a little on the fragile side. But for earrings, it's not like a necklace. Okay. Okay, and then you just need to put your ear wires on. I'm going to pause it to do that. Okay, so I've got the ear wires on, and I noticed that this one just needs a bit of adjusting. See how it's sitting a little bit wonky? You might need to do that too. And my video is about to finish itself, so I am going to take the opportunity of please subscribe to my YouTube channel and join me in all my future tutorials. I appreciate you having faith in me, and God bless to all of you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.